While most people instinctively turn to the thermostat when winter's chill sets in, the Amish face a far more intriguing challenge. Without the convenience of modern heating systems, they've perfected the art of keeping their large barns warm through the bone-crushing winters of Pennsylvania. Interestingly, their techniques might just offer us a few lessons in heating efficiency. So, why is the barn so critical? A barn is the heart and soul of any farm, especially an Amish one. It's where the day's work is done, where life unfolds, and most importantly, where animals find shelter during the harsh winter months. When the temperature dips below freezing, keeping the barn properly heated becomes just as crucial as making sure your morning coffee is hot. And believe me, both are equally essential for starting your day off right. Let's consider the animals for a moment. Dairy cows, a staple on many Amish farms, are surprisingly sensitive to cold. When temperatures fall below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, these cows shift much of their energy towards staying warm, which means less energy is available for milk production. Recent agricultural studies have shown that milk output can drop by as much as 8% when temperatures dip below that threshold. For Amish farmers who rely on dairy income, that's like watching their earnings slip away with every gust of cold air. But it's not just about milk production. Young calves and newborn livestock are especially vulnerable to cold stress. These little ones need temperatures between 50 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit to thrive during their early weeks. Without proper warmth, mortality rates can rise dramatically. A study from the University of Wisconsin found that calves exposed to temperatures below 40 degrees Fahrenheit were 2.4 times more likely to develop health issues than those kept in warmer conditions. Another factor that's often overlooked is storage. The barn doesn't just house animals. It's also where valuable feed and equipment are kept safe. Hay, for example, needs to stay dry to prevent mold, which can be toxic to animals. When temperatures fluctuate, condensation can form, creating the perfect conditions for mold growth. Agricultural experts estimate that poor storage conditions can result in up to 25% of stored hay being lost. And for any farmer, that's a significant loss. Now, let's think about the people involved. Amish farmers spend countless hours in their barns, especially in winter. Ever tried milking cows with frozen fingers? It's about as fun as eating soup with a fork. Proper barn heating isn't just about comfort. It's about working efficiently and safely. Cold muscles are more prone to injury, and tools can become dangerous when temperatures drop too low. Even simple tasks like checking on animals or maintaining equipment can become tough when you're shivering so hard your teeth start a percussion band. Water systems are another critical element in an Amish barn. Keeping water from freezing is essential when temperatures dip below freezing. Pipes and troughs can ice over faster than a politician can change their mind. Animals need fresh water constantly. A single dairy cow can drink 30 to 50 gallons of water a day. Good luck trying to drink that much yourself in a month. Without proper heating, farmers might find themselves chipping ice multiple times a day or dealing with burst pipes, which is about as enjoyable as a root canal during a power outage. Some might argue that animals have survived cold weather for thousands of years in the wild. True, but there's a major difference between wild animals and domesticated livestock. Modern farm animals have been selectively bred for specific traits like milk production and rapid growth, often at the expense of their ability to endure extreme cold. It's like expecting a Chihuahua to survive in the Arctic just because wolves can. It's not quite the same. Speaking of warmth, the Amish have perfected the design of their barns over generations. These structures are naturally adept at retaining heat, even without a single electrical outlet. While modern barns often focus on cost and quick construction, Amish barns are built with the wisdom passed down through generations. Every beam and board serves a purpose in the fight against winter's chill. The key to this lies in the barn's walls, and they're truly something special. Traditional Amish barn walls can be up to 45 centimeters thick, nearly double the thickness of many modern buildings. These aren't your standard 2x4 walls. These barns are constructed with thick, solid wooden beams that could make a lumberjack whistle in admiration. The thickness of the walls serves a dual purpose: structural integrity and natural insulation. Wood itself has an R value, which measures how well it resists heat transfer, making these barns some of the most efficient at maintaining warmth without relying on electricity. So the next time winter rolls around, perhaps we should look to the Amish for a little inspiration in the art of staying warm, naturally and efficiently. That fancy talk about insulation? Well, it's not just for show, it's incredibly efficient. The walls of Amish barns pack quite the thermal punch, with wood providing an R value of about 1.4 per inch of thickness. But that's just the beginning. Between those sturdy wooden beams, there's a layer of natural insulation that would make any modern energy expert green with envy. Straw bales packed densely between the wall cavities offer an insulation value that rivals modern fiberglass. A standard straw bale can achieve an R value between 2.5 to 3.5 per inch. When you do the math, those thick walls filled with straw can hit total R values of 20 to 30, numbers that would make any home builder's jaw drop. And the roof? It's another stroke of Amish genius. Most Amish barns feature steeply pitched roofs, often between 35 degrees and 45 degrees. But this isn't just for aesthetic appeal. Those angles are carefully calculated to shed snow efficiently, while creating an insulating air pocket in the hayloft. That space between the hay storage and the roof peak acts as a thermal buffer, trapping rising warm air and preventing it from escaping through the roof. Think of it like wearing a wool hat in winter, but this one's big enough to cover dozens of cows. The placement of hay storage is strategic too. Hay bales are stacked along the outer walls, creating an extra layer of insulation. Fresh hay generates heat as it cures, reaching temperatures up to 49 degrees Celsius, and acts like a natural radiator. The Amish have learned to harness this heat, using it to their advantage during the coldest months. Who needs a fancy heating system when your insulation doubles as a heat source? Now, the windows might seem like they're randomly placed to the untrained eye, but they're as strategically positioned as a chess master's opening move. They're typically installed on the south-facing walls to capture maximum sunlight during winter, while the north-facing walls have minimal openings to reduce heat loss. The windows themselves are often double-paned, and many farmers add removable wooden shutters that can be closed on particularly cold nights, like eyelids shielding against harsh winds and blinding glare. Let's not forget about the foundation, which deserves special mention. Many Amish barns are built using a bank barn design, meaning they're partially built into a hillside. This earth provides natural insulation and protection from harsh winds. The ground stays at a constant temperature of around 10 degrees Celsius year-round, which helps regulate the barn's internal temperature. It's like having Mother Nature herself as your personal thermostat. Even the barn doors play a role in this thermal symphony. Traditional Amish barn doors are incredibly thick, often built in layers with air pockets between the boards, adding extra insulation. They're also hung with precision to minimize gaps, because as any farmer will tell you, a draft under a barn door is about as welcome as a skunk at a garden party. The flooring system is also designed with care. Small gaps between boards allow warm air from the animals below to rise naturally through the structure, while still providing essential ventilation. It might seem counterintuitive when trying to keep heat in, but proper airflow is crucial to prevent moisture buildup, which could damage both the barn and its inhabitants. As my old friend Jacob used to say, a barn that can't breathe is like a person holding their sneeze. Something's bound to go wrong. With such a well-insulated structure in place, the next question is, how do they generate the heat to fill it? And that's where the real fire starting begins. Wood stoves are the backbone of Amish barn heating. These aren't your grandmother's decorative parlor stoves. We're talking about serious iron beasts that could make any blacksmith proud. Some stoves stand over 6 feet tall and weigh up to 660 pounds. Capable of pumping out 50,000 British thermal units per hour, enough to heat a large space. These wood stoves burn through a lot of firewood during the coldest months, anywhere between 15 and 20 cubic meters of wood. That's enough to fill a small bedroom from floor to ceiling. My friend Eli jokes that splitting all that wood is better than any gym membership, though he's still waiting for his six-pack abs to show up. It's no laughing matter, though. Studies show that an hour of wood splitting can burn up to 450 calories, making it one of the most effective full-body workouts around. Choosing the right wood is an art in itself. Hardwoods like oak, maple, and hickory are preferred for their longer burn times and higher heat output. For example, 1 kilogram of well-seasoned oak can produce around 4,500 calories of heat energy, compared to pine's 2,700 calories per kilogram. As they say in Lancaster County, softwood makes soft heat. Each species burns a little differently. Beech burns steadily and long. Maple produces intense heat with minimal smoke, and hickory combines both qualities while adding a sweet aroma to the barn. Preparing this mountain of wood is no weekend task. It's a year-round operation. Trees are felled in late winter, when sap content is lowest, then left to season for at least 6 months. A seasoned log contains about 20% moisture, compared to the 50% moisture content of freshly cut wood. This difference means seasoned wood burns hotter and produces less creosote, the tar-like substance that can build up in chimneys and cause fires. The seasoning process involves careful stacking to allow air circulation, and many Amish farmers build dedicated wood sheds with raised floors and slatted sides to optimize the drying process. With all this effort put into insulating and heating the barn, it's clear that the Amish have truly mastered the art of winter survival. The woodlot management system used by many Amish families is nothing short of genius. They follow a rotating 7-year plan, dividing their woodlots into sections and harvesting from a different section each year, allowing the others to regenerate. This sustainable method ensures that they'll always have a reliable source of firewood, as long as they stick to the plan. One farmer explained it to me like this: "It's like having 7 savings accounts. You only withdraw from one at a time, while the others keep growing interest." A well-maintained 10-hectare woodlot can sustainably produce enough firewood to heat a large barn indefinitely. The morning fire-starting ritual in an Amish barn is almost a sacred event. It begins long before the sun rises, usually around 4 a.m. The coals from the previous night are stirred, fresh kindling is added, and new logs are carefully arranged. The goal is to build a fire that burns steadily and lasts a long time, not one that flares up quickly and dies out. Get this wrong, and it's like serving cold coffee to a morning person. You'll regret it all day long. The technique involves creating a base of coals, adding small splits of hardwood, and gradually building up to larger pieces that will burn for hours. Most Amish barns feature multiple stoves placed throughout the structure. Larger stoves might be in the main stable area, while smaller ones are placed in milk houses or workshop areas. The placement isn't random. These stoves are strategically positioned to create convection currents that help distribute heat evenly throughout the barn. It's like conducting an orchestra, with each stove playing its part in the symphony of warmth. The primary stoves are often placed near the center of the barn, while smaller units are positioned near crucial areas like water lines or newborn animal pens. Maintaining these stoves requires constant attention. Ashes need to be removed daily, which isn't easy when you have multiple stoves running around the clock. However, these ashes don't go to waste. They're often spread on icy walkways to provide traction or added to garden soil for their mineral content. Some farmers even mix ashes with animal feed in small quantities as a supplement. Recent studies have shown that wood ash can contain up to 25% calcium carbonate, making it an excellent soil amendment for acidic soils. The stovepipes and chimneys also need regular cleaning. Creosote buildup is checked monthly during heavy use, and chimneys are cleaned 3 to 4 times during the heating season. One farmer joked that you can tell it's time to clean the chimney when the barn swallows start complaining about their nests, though I'm not sure he wasn't just pulling my leg. A clean chimney is essential for both safety and efficiency. Just 1 millimeter of creosote buildup can reduce heat transfer by up to 40%. Sometimes, though, When temperatures dip to extreme lows or when particularly vulnerable animals are involved, wood heat just isn't enough. That's when propane and kerosene heaters come into play. These portable heaters provide quick, targeted heat exactly where it's needed. If a calf arrives during a freezing January night or newborn chicks need protection from the cold, propane and kerosene heaters step in. These heaters can produce between 25,000 and 40,000 BTUs, enough to warm up to 95 square meters of space. Unlike wood stoves, which take hours to heat up, these heaters start delivering warmth within minutes. It's like having a miniature sun on wheels, minus the sunburn and awkward small talk. Modern infrared propane heaters are particularly efficient, converting nearly 90% of their fuel into usable heat. Most Amish farmers keep at least 2 or 3 of these portable heaters on hand, especially during the spring when new lambs and calves arrive. Young animals need a temperature of around 21 degrees Celsius to thrive, and these heaters can maintain that temperature in a small area without warming the entire barn. For chicks, these heaters are essential in maintaining temperatures between 27 and 32 degrees Celsius during the first week of life. Kerosene heaters serve as reliable backups, offering some advantages over propane. They are cheaper to operate, costing about 20 cents per hour compared to propane's 35 cents. A kerosene heater can run for up to 12 hours on just 4 liters of fuel, making them ideal for overnight use. The trade-off? Kerosene heaters need more frequent refilling and can produce an odor that some farmers and animals find less than pleasant. As one farmer put it, "It smells like your uncle's old tractor decided to take up perfume making." Safety features in modern gas heaters have come a long way. Most models now include tip-over switches that automatically shut off the fuel supply if the heater falls over. Particularly handy when curious calves decide everything new is a potential scratching post. Oxygen depletion sensors help prevent the heater from using up too much oxygen in enclosed spaces, though Amish farmers are always careful to maintain proper ventilation. The latest models even include carbon monoxide detectors, which shut down the unit if dangerous levels of gas are detected. The cost of running these heaters may surprise you. During peak usage times, a typical farmer might spend between $75 and $100 per month on fuel, significantly less than many Americans pay to heat their homes, although, to be fair, most Americans aren't heating their homes with wood stoves. The real savings come from using these heaters strategically, only when and where they're needed most. Some farmers have developed detailed schedules to move heaters between different areas throughout the day based on which animals need the most warmth at different times. Maintenance is straightforward but essential. Fuel lines need regular checks for cracks or damage, burners require cleaning to prevent carbon buildup, and thermocouples occasionally need replacing. As my friend Samuel says, if you can't fix it with baling wire or WD-40, you probably shouldn't be fixing it at all. Regular maintenance includes weekly cleaning of fuel filters, monthly inspections of all gas connections, and seasonal deep cleaning of the entire unit. Storage tanks for propane and kerosene require special care too. Most Amish farms have several medium-sized propane tanks, typically around 100 kilograms each, which are safely positioned away from the barn. These tanks are painted white or silver to reflect sunlight and prevent pressure buildup during the summer months. A well-maintained tank can last 20 years or more, but it's manually inspected for rust or damage. The storage area is usually surrounded by a protective fence and features clear warning signs for safety. While these gas-powered solutions provide much-needed supplemental heat, nothing compares to the powerful warmth that coal stoves deliver. Though black rocks may not sound exciting, they have completely transformed barn heating for many Amish farmers, especially those in regions where coal is readily available. These stoves can maintain steady temperatures for hours with minimal attention, a huge relief for farmers who don't want to wake up every couple of hours to tend to a wood stove during cold snaps. The numbers speak for themselves. 1 ton of coal produces the same amount of heat as 1.5 to 2 cords of wood, which is roughly 30% more heat per kilogram than wood. A single load of quality anthracite coal can burn steadily for 8 to 12 hours, keeping the barn at a comfortable 15 to 25 degrees Celsius. As my Amish friend Levi puts it, coal is like that reliable worker who shows up early, works hard, and never complains about overtime. Modern coal stoves are engineering marvels, converting up to 80% of the coal's energy into usable heat. On average, a barn coal stove uses about 2 to 3 tons of coal during the winter season. At current prices of $100 to $150 per ton, it's a significant cost saving compared to other heating methods. One farmer jokingly said he saves enough money on heating to buy a new horse every year, though his wife quickly reminds him that it's not exactly in the budget. Installing a coal stove requires careful planning. The cost of a typical coal stove setup, stove, chimney, and safety equipment ranges from $1,500 to $3,000. While this might seem steep over the stove's 15 to 20-year lifespan, it's a very cost-effective choice. Plus, as another farmer humorously mentioned, it's still cheaper than dealing with the consequences of waking your wife up at 3 a.m. to help stoke the wood stove. These coal stoves are built like tanks, with cast iron construction, airtight seals, and thermostatic controls. They allow for precise temperature regulation. Most models feature a hopper that can hold 25 to 35 kilograms of coal, automatically feeding it into the fire as needed. The ash pan typically needs emptying only once every day or two, depending on usage. Quite a relief compared to the constant attention required by wood stoves. When using coal heat, proper ventilation becomes crucial. While wood smoke may leave you smelling like a campfire, coal smoke contains sulfur dioxide and other less than pleasant compounds. That's why proper chimney height and design are essential. Many Amish coal stove chimneys extend at least 1 meter above the roof's peak. Some farmers even install traditional wind-powered turbine ventilators to improve airflow, proving that sometimes the old ways work best. Coal storage requires some special consideration too. Most Amish farms have a dedicated coal bin, usually holding between 3 to 4 tons of coal. These bins must be well ventilated and protected from rain and snow. Unlike wood, coal won't rot if it gets wet, but handling frozen chunks of coal during winter is never fun. The bins are typically placed in accessible areas for easy access during snowstorms, as Murphy's Law dictates that you'll always run out of coal during the worst weather possible. When it comes to coal quality, it's all about anthracite. Known for its high carbon content and low impurity levels, anthracite is considered the gold standard. It burns hotter and cleaner than bituminous coal, producing less ash and fewer emissions. Experienced farmers can tell good coal just by looking at it. It should be hard, glossy, and break into sharp edges. As one old-timer told me, if the coal doesn't break right, you'll know it's not the good stuff. When you think of warmth on a farm, you might not immediately think of the animals themselves, but on an Amish farm, Mother Nature's finest heaters come with 4 legs and a healthy appetite. Take, for instance, a single dairy cow. She generates nearly 600 watts of heat, roughly equivalent to a small space heater running on hay instead of electricity. Put 20 cows together in a barn, and you've got enough heat output to rival a modest home furnace. What's more, these walking furnaces also produce milk while they're at it. The science behind animal-generated heat is fascinating. A cow's rumen, one of their 4 stomachs, functions like a fermentation tank, breaking down hay and producing heat in the process. Considering that a cow eats around 25 kilograms of food per day, that's a lot of biological heating going on. The fermentation can raise the internal temperature of the rumen to 40 degrees Celsius, turning each cow into a walking furnace. One farmer joked that his cows kept the barn warmer than his wood stove, though he admitted the aromatherapy wasn't quite as pleasant. Pigs are particularly efficient at generating heat too. An adult sow produces around 400 watts of heat, and they tend to cluster together, multiplying their warming effect. A pen of 10 market-weight pigs can raise the temperature in a small section of the barn by 5 to 7 degrees Celsius. Their high metabolic rate and social behavior make them natural heaters. The only downside? Telling a 600-pound pig that she's hogging all the warm spots can be a bit of a challenge. Sheep may look like they're wearing cozy coats, but they contribute to the barn's heating system too. A flock of 30 sheep generates about the same amount of heat as a 2,000-watt heating element. Their wool actually helps distribute heat more evenly throughout the barn, acting like tiny mobile insulation units. During shearing season, farmers notice an immediate drop in barn temperature, confirming that these woolly warmers aren't just fleecing around. Chickens, surprisingly, are also effective heaters. A chicken coop with 200 laying hens can maintain temperatures 10 degrees Celsius higher than the outside temperature purely from body heat. A single chicken generates about 6 watts of heat, and when multiplied by a few hundred birds, it becomes a significant heat source. Amish farmers strategically position their chicken coops near barn walls, so the heat can transfer and help warm the larger space. This clever use of natural heat means that younger animals are often housed in the center of the barn, surrounded by adult animals that act as both windbreaks and heaters. New calves often get prime spots near the milk cows to benefit from both maternal warmth and protection. The amount of feed an animal consumes plays a direct role in heat generation, especially during cold snaps. Animals naturally eat more to maintain their body temperature. For example, a dairy cow might increase her hay consumption by 20% when temperatures drop below freezing. This increased food intake results in more fermentation and, consequently, more heat production. It's nature's own thermostat at work. One farmer humorously remarked that his cows eat better than he does during winter, but at least they're paying rent in BTUS. Even manure contributes to the heating system. Fresh manure can reach temperatures of up to 43 degrees Celsius as it decomposes. While no one is suggesting using manure as a primary heat source, this biological process does add to the overall warmth of the barn. Some farmers have noticed that areas near manure collection systems stay noticeably warmer, though they are quick to point out that this heating method isn't exactly the highlight of farm tours. Of course, when relying on animal-generated heat, proper ventilation is critical. All these living furnaces produce not just warmth, but also moisture. A 100-cow dairy barn can add up to 600 liters of water to the air each day through respiration alone. Without proper airflow, this moisture could lead to condensation problems and respiratory issues for the animals. Amish farmers have developed clever passive ventilation systems that strike a delicate balance between fresh air and heat retention. All this heat needs to be distributed evenly throughout the barn, and that's where the real engineering comes into play. Amish barns are designed with ceiling heights between 4 and 6 meters, creating the perfect environment for warm air to rise while cold air sinks. This natural circulation, known as the stack effect, is a key player in barn heat distribution. The temperature difference between the floor and ceiling can reach up to 8 degrees Celsius, which drives a continuous flow of air through the barn. Strategically placed vents at the barn's peak act like chimneys, drawing warm air upward, while small adjustable openings near the floor allow cooler air to enter. This creates a continuous cycle of air movement. The trick, of course, is controlling this airflow. Too much ventilation wastes heat, while too little leads to moisture problems. Many Amish farmers use simple wooden slides to adjust these openings, joking that it's their version of a smart thermostat, just with more splinters. But when you have this balance of clever engineering, natural warmth from animals, and proper ventilation, you end up with a barn that's warm, dry, and ready for whatever the winter throws at it. Clever heat distribution and harnessing the power of the sun. On an Amish farm, the placement of heat sources is key to ensuring warmth is distributed effectively throughout the barn. Animal pens, hay storage areas, and wood stoves are carefully arranged to create natural convection currents that help spread the heat. One particularly ingenious design involves placing the main stove slightly off-center to create a circular airflow pattern, helping the entire barn warm up more evenly. As my friend Jacob puts it, It's like stirring soup. You don't put the spoon in the middle. To boost natural circulation, Amish farmers often use large manual fans, mounted on walls or suspended from ceiling beams. These fans, typically measuring 1.5 to 2 meters in diameter, can move up to 15,000 cubic meters of air per hour and are often turned by hand. Some farmers have even gone a step further and rigged these fans to harness the power of horses walking on treadmills, creating an animal-powered ventilation system that would make Rube Goldberg proud. The barn's floor plan also contributes to the distribution of heat. Many Amish barns feature a central corridor with stalls and work areas branching off to either side. This layout naturally channels air movement, helping to distribute heat more evenly. The corridor typically runs north to south, taking advantage of prevailing winds to enhance air movement. One farmer claimed this design was inspired by watching how wind moves through corn rows, though his wife insists that this idea came after he'd fallen asleep in the cornfield. Windows and doors are more than just for light or access. They're essential for heat distribution too. South-facing windows are often larger and positioned to maximize solar gain during the winter months. Some farmers even install reflective metal sheets on the north wall to bounce both light and heat back into the barn. These sheets serve a dual purpose. They reflect warmth into the barn and even give the cows something to admire themselves in during their downtime. Another fascinating aspect of Amish barn design is the use of hay storage areas. Located in the upper levels, hay storage areas act as massive heat reservoirs. As hay cures, it generates heat, which helps to warm the barn. Some farmers even stack hay bales in specific patterns to create air channels that allow warm air to flow more efficiently through the structure. Fresh hay can reach internal temperatures of up to 49 degrees Celsius, making it a surprisingly effective passive heating element. Exterior paint color can also influence heat distribution. Dark-colored barns absorb more solar heat, while light colors reflect it. Many Amish farmers paint the south-facing side of their barns darker than the north side to maximize solar heat gain during the winter months. This two-tone paint job may look odd to outsiders, but when you're heating without electricity, every bit of solar gain counts. It's not all about moving warm air around. The sun itself is a powerful free heat source that Amish farmers have mastered for generations. The orientation of the barn is crucial to maximizing solar gain. Most barns are designed with the longest side facing south, giving the sun maximum surface area to warm during winter days. The roof pitch is also calculated precisely, typically around 35 degrees in Pennsylvania, to match the angle of the winter sun. Windows on the south side of the barn are carefully sized and positioned to let in low-angle winter sunlight, while blocking the higher summer sun. Amish barns often dedicate 30% to 40% of their south-facing wall to windows. These aren't just any windows, they're usually double-layered with an air gap between them, which helps insulate while still letting sunlight through. During winter months, these windows can contribute up to 30% of the barn's daily heating needs. Collecting solar heat is one thing, but storing it is where the concept of thermal mass comes into play. Concrete floors, stone walls, and even large water barrels are strategically placed in Amish barns to store heat during the day and release it slowly at night. A 15-centimeter thick concrete floor can store enough heat to keep the barn temperature stable for up to 8 hours after sunset. Many Amish farmers also use large water tanks, which can store 3 times more heat than concrete. A 3,000-liter water tank can store enough heat to raise the temperature of a small barn section by 3 to 4 degrees Celsius during the night. As one farmer put it, "The water works harder than my sons and complains less too." Even the hayloft serves a role in solar heating. Beyond storing feed, densely packed hay bales act as excellent insulation and thermal mass. The south-facing sections of the loft are often packed tighter to create a heat-absorbing wall, helping to regulate the barn's temperature. The fresh hay curing in the loft also adds to this effect, creating what one farmer calls his solar-powered hater system. Dirt banks, typically built against barn walls, also play a role in heat management. These dirt banks, which often reach 1 to 2 meters high, connect the barn to the Earth's constant temperature, around 10 to 13 degrees Celsius year-round, helping to moderate indoor temperatures. As another farmer pointed out, the banks also provide convenient seating for taking breaks, though his wife claims that's not exactly an efficiency feature. Even metal roofing serves a solar purpose. The underside of metal roofing reflects heat back into the barn, while certain roof angles can direct winter sunlight onto thermal mass elements below. Some farmers have experimented with different metal finishes to optimize this effect, though one farmer's attempt to use old pie tins as additional reflectors earned him more laughs than heat and a stern look from his wife. These passive solar systems require almost no maintenance, but do need seasonal adjustments. Removable awnings are sometimes added in summer to block excessive heat gain, and temporary reflectors can boost winter sun exposure. This seasonal dance of adjusting the barn systems is one that's been choreographed through generations of farming experience, with each Amish family adding their own twist to the routine. By combining clever engineering, natural heat sources, and the power of the sun, Amish farmers have developed a sustainable and cost-effective way to keep their barns warm, with minimal energy input and a deep understanding of nature's cycles. From four-legged furnaces to solar heat traps, these methods show that when you work with nature, the results can be truly brilliant.